This is Covering the Spread, part of the FanDuel Podcast Network.
When you look at the big games across the Week 6 NFL slate, there are a lot of fun players involved in some fun matches, which could lead to some value in the player prop market. So today, we're going to talk to Riley Thomas of FanDuel Research, get his read on some key situations, talk to Riley about his overall prop betting process, and then dig into his favorite yardage props, touchdown bets, and a same-game parlay Riley likes for week number 6. Welcome on into Covering the Spread, a FanDuel Research podcast. My name is JimSannes. I am a managing editor for FanDuel Research, joined here as mentioned by Riley Thomas. Find him on X at _Riley8. He is at FanDuel Research, where he is a writer for us covering not just the NFL, but also, of course, college football, NBA as well, MLB. Riley, happy week number 6. How you doing today?
Doing good. This season's flying by. You even saying week 6 is insane to me. It feels like it just started yesterday.
Fun weekend though, because we're talking about the big NFL games, but also you're a big college football guy. Indiana, Oregon coming up this week. So Some really fun games too. So I feel like you'll just be glued to the couch from Saturday at noon through Sunday at midnight.
Yeah. I mean, that's every weekend. That doesn't change, but especially this weekend. Yeah, I'm excited. A lot of good games both days. So should be a good weekend.
It'll be a lot of fun for sure. As mentioned for today, we're going to talk to Riley about his overall prop betting process. First time we've had him on the show here to talk about NFL player props. We'll go through some situations that could be up in the air. We could find some value in the prop market, then some yardage props, touchdown props, and Riley's favorite SGP as well. But first, a reminder to make sure you're subscribed to both the Covering the Spread podcast feed and the FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page. Of course, shows Monday through Friday during the NFL and college football season. That does include next week as well. Doubleheader on Monday. Be here on Monday to break down my thoughts on both of those games. But then also for this week, we have our thoughts on week 6 with Minty Bets Up. She joined me yesterday to break down her thoughts on the full biggest games for this week. And of course, on Wednesday, Dr. Ed Feng joined me to break down his thoughts on college football week 7. Find those shows on the FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page and the Covering the Spread podcast feed. Subscribe to both. 5-star rating on the podcast feed, thumbs up on YouTube, and turn on notifications there to get these videos as they go live Monday through Friday. FanDuel's getting you ready for kickoff with an offer you won't want to miss. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet $5, and if it wins, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You can build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines, whatever your style, FanDuel has you covered. NFL season is finally here. Only question is, are you ready to play? Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, an affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in DC, Kentucky, or Wyoming. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Or visit FanDuel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Riley, as mentioned, first time we've had you here on the show to talk about NFL player props. We've talked about college football. We've talked about the NFL sides and totals, but want to dig into your process for NFL props. So when you're hunting for value in the props market, what does your process look like?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it always starts with the basis, right? Like you pay attention to the game. It's easier to sort through like what matchup looks good this week, what player's been performing well, stuff like that. But for me, like a lot with player props, finding actual decent value, even maybe trying to be a step ahead of the market, is just looking at usage. I think a lot of it always just comes down to usage. And that could be a variety of things. Like say, for example, I think a perfect thing right now, and I haven't looked at his receiving yard prop this week, but Stephon Diggs, he didn't really play much week 1 through 3. And I think a lot of that's coming off that knee. And then while his snap rate isn't like out of control or anything the last 2 weeks, his target share is just insane. Like at this point, it's like, okay, now he's the receiver one we expected. So say like after week 4, he had his first big game. And then you go into week 5, even like 16.5, that's still not that high. So it's like something like that. I mean, it's a two week split, so I understand that's small, but it's good to keep in mind. Like, we know his usage is way up right now, and it could be, a prop you come back to every week until, say, the market would adjust. And same thing could go for like when I'm looking at touchdowns, you look at, obviously your red zone touch snaps or like target share, rushing attempt share, whatever it may be. I think you can really lean into like positive regression there. I mean, if you see a guy's getting a 40% target share over a month and he doesn't have a touchdown, I mean, and you're probably looking at like a plus 200 line there, like that's really good value. So I think a lot of it is just like looking at recent usage, and obviously there's two sides of that coin. Sometimes, say for that guy hasn't scored a touchdown in a month, the line's that for a reason, but like I'm willing to take my chance if he keeps getting that many looks.
And I think the Diggs point is important because it's kind of like what I like to look at is situations that are changing, evolving situations. Right. And Stephon Diggs is an evolving situation where the snap rate, as you said, was not good the first 3 weeks. And I think that the improvement for him is, I'm more willing to believe it's sticky given the alternatives they have, or I would say don't have in that room. It's Hunter Henry, who is solid, really good tight end, but like Pop Douglas ain't doing it for me. Kayshon Boutte is like a solid, like, stretch the field but not get a lot of targets kind of guy, Romeo Dobbs kind of dude where he's like out there running a lot of routes but not earning a lot of targets. There's aren't a lot of target earners there. So if you're looking at like the room around that player, that can help you identify, is this sticky, will this stay, and stuff like that. And I think for a guy like Diggs, it's an important situation there's because they don't have a lot of great alternatives.
Yeah, and then like you see how well Drake May is playing, and it's like you want to find some exposure.
Yeah.
Like you said, I mean, who else is he going to throw to?
Yeah. Hopefully Hunter Henry for my purposes in DFS on a Sunday. Now, we kind of alluded to this already with the Diggs situation, but there are some other situations that are a bit in flux, and we can find situations where things are evolving, whether it's a player's role is increasing, decreasing, and maybe the books haven't caught up just yet. Any teams you think are worth digging into where things are changing with either their running back or pass catching room right now?
Yeah, I'd say the obvious one this week is the Bengals, just with them making their move with Flacco. Obviously not in a great spot on the road in Green Bay this week. I think I saw they're 14.5-point dogs, but hey, negative game script. Probably a lot of passes coming our way. I'm never going to like be out on Jamar Chase, honestly, who would? And the last, obviously he's still carrying a huge workload. Last couple games, he has a air yard share over 40%, 9 targets per game. Obviously I understand being nervous about his receiving yard prop just because the big issue for Cincinnati has been like pass protection, and you're playing one of the best pass rushers in the league. So I don't know if they're going to have enough time to really throw it downfield. Obviously Flacco is just yards per passing attempt, average depth of target on each passing attempt. All that's really low. So it's like, I don't know how much they're going to push it downfield. So with Chase, I think I'm looking towards probably his 5.5 receptions and maybe taking it over there just because his volume's so high. But I just think I'm interested to see how this looks because obviously like Jake Browning was just not it. But Flacco hasn't been great either when he was starting in Cleveland. I mean, he has the second worst expected points added per drop back, which is slightly ahead of Browning having the worst mark. And then you also have Flacco with the third most picks in the league. Like, I'm not going to act like this is some huge upgrade, but I do think it's a slight upgrade. And we still have seen Chase put up at least 110 receiving yards in 2 games since week 2, since Burrow's been hurt. So he's still capable of, giving you some big games. And we just saw the Packers give up, 40 points and almost 8 yards per passing attempts against Dallas. I think it's a slight upgrade. I mean, you look at like on target rate, and Flacco has the 10th highest mark there, which, pretty good. And then Browning had the 7th lowest mark. It's like at least you're getting a more accurate quarterback. I think Chase could finally start producing a little bit more consistently here.
Well, I think that the reception prop is smart because what we've seen with the Bengals when they've had issues at quarterback is that what they will do is they will get the ball in Jamar Chase's hands and then see what happens. They are willing to give him these short passes because he's a magician after he gets the ball in his hands. So why would you not dial up a bunch of screens for Jamar Chase, get the ball out of Flacco's hands early? Like, yeah, Flacco's not amazing, but he can at least still get you an accurate dump off. And I think that's going to, get the ball. That's more Chase's game than it is T. Higgins. So I think the reception prop is smart. Over 5.5 right now, sitting at -132. But like, just from like a schematic perspective with the situation they're in, I do think that kind of approach makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, even if, I don't know, say you're not a big fan of the whole Jamar Chase thing, I think even like looking at Chase Brown receptions, that's another one that that's the two biggest takeaways I have. Like, say even just fantasy football wise from this is Jamar Chase could do more, and I think Chase Brown as a receiver could be huge going forward.
Yeah,
it's like
Chase
you said, I
Brown's
mean, just the dump offs. So
it makes a lot of sense. And Brown's reception prop is at 3.5. Over for him is -114 as well. Okay, Ryan, let's talk about some yardage and usage props you're seeing at FanDuel Sportsbook. What are your favorites as far as those markets for this weekend?
Yeah, well, this kind of goes back into the whole teams and flux thing, some changes. So Cleveland, obviously quarterback change, got Dylan Gabriel starting now. It wasn't like he like lit the world on fire last week, but he was better than what they've been getting. But Cedric Tillman is still out with a hamstring injury right now, and that's directly led to a lot of more work for Isaiah Bond. And we have his receiving yard prop at only 30.5 right now. I like an over here. He's averaging well over that last 2 games. He put up, I believe it was 58 and 29 receiving yards last two weeks. But mostly like what I'm looking at here is we all know Jerry Jeudy just has not been efficient at all. And since Bond has stepped into this elevated role over the last 2 weeks, he has a 19.7% target share, 32.5% air yard share, and 6.5 targets per game. Then you look at Jeudy, he has 21.2% target share, 38.2% air yard share, and 7 targets per game. So like Bond stepping in and immediately getting like just as much work as Jeudy. He's been far more efficient. During that 2-game split, he has 1.55 yards per route run. Jeudy, meanwhile, has a 0.93 mark. I think what's interesting, too, is if you look at this just entire season as a whole, Bond actually has the most yards per route run on the Browns at 1.05, which obviously not great. But, I think this is a situation, again, like who are you going to throw to? And, I mean, Pittsburgh's pass defense hasn't been amazing or anything. I mean, they're giving up over 8 yards per passing attempt. They're giving up the 4th most yards per downfield target. So you can hit some big plays on downfield. And for Bond, that's carrying a pretty high air yard share and even just downfield target share. I wouldn't be surprised if you could hit a big play or two, and that could get you the over pretty quickly.
And you mentioned the Pittsburgh pass defense. They are getting Joey Porter Jr. back, but losing Jalen Ramsey. So they add, but then they subtract immediately.
Yeah.
So it's a situation where that pass defense has not been amazing so far and is still not healthy on the back end, which could lead to those deep balls for Bond. And they've said they like him. And it seems like they're committed to letting these rookies cook. Gabriel, Quinshon Judkins, Bond, Harold Fannin Jr., they're willing to build the whole plane out of rookies. And honestly, why wouldn't you if you're the Browns? They've got this draft capital stored up for the draft. They've got some rookies who are doing some fun stuff. So I think that you're looking at Bond, the trajectory is pointing in the right direction for him, which is encouraging too.
Right. And then you mentioned the whole corner situation. It's just who are they going to put Porter on? Most likely they're going to stick him on Jeudy. So again, he gets a better matchup there. So why not? It's 30.5. It's pretty low, and gotta like your chances.
All right. That is Isaiah Bond over 30.5 receiving yards, -114. Any other usage or yardage props to stand out to you here, Riley?
Yeah, I like Ashton Jeanty over 17.5 rushing attempts this week. Obviously, a lot of that is just stop letting Geno Smith throw the ball so much. Obviously, 9 interceptions already. We've already seen them try to, limit the attempts a little bit. Over the first 2 weeks, their pass play rate was ridiculous. It was 62%, I think. The last 3 weeks, that's went down to around 50%. And if you want to take out last week, because obviously they get into a very big negative game script. I mean, they think they lost 40-6.
Yeah.
So if we just look at week 3 and 4, where they could actually play somewhat close and do what they want, they had a pass play rate down to 46%. So, I mean, your pass play rate dropped almost 20% from week 1 and 2 to week 3 and 4. Obviously, that directly led to a lot more attempts for Jeanty. Over week 3 and 4, he had I believe it was 19. Let me find this. I'm sorry. 19 rushing attempts during that span. The first 2 games, he only had 15. Even if we want to add in last week's game with a huge negative game script, Genty's had 17.3 rushing attempts per game. Obviously, it hurts that somehow in the last 20 minutes, his prop has went up to 18.5 instead of 17.5. But I'm okay taking an over still, just because it's you gotta stop throwing the ball so much if you're gonna keep turning it over. Genty's been wildly efficient over the last 2 games. 1.52 rushing yards over expectation per carry, 5.9 yards per carry. Obviously helps you're not playing a good rush defense either. Titans have the 5th worst adjusted rush defense. They're giving up 5 yards per rushing attempt. So I just, and again, the Titans are a bad team. It's probably gonna be a close game. I mean, this game's probably gonna be really painful to watch, but should be pretty close. And again, allows them to run the ball, not get behind big. So yeah, I just don't see a reason why they roll out an offense where Geno Smith's getting 40 attempts.
Yeah, as you mentioned, that number is up to 18.5 now, over sitting at minus 102. But hey, here's a narrative for you, Riley. It is October. It is Halloween month. Ashton Genty back to the Michael Myers stance. I feel like if you're a movie guy, you're a Halloween guy. I feel like you're obligated to buy an Ashton Genty. Jahmyr Gibbs does this too, by the way, and we don't talk about that. So maybe a Ashton Genty, Jahmyr Gibbs kind of parlay here, the Michael Myers Halloween narrative parlay. I feel like that's got to be worth at least a half carry per game, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's my top back for fantasy football too. So it's just I need Genty to come through for me. But yeah.
And in this setup, they're at home against a rush defense that has struggled this year. Jeffrey Simmons not 100% healthy right now. It's a good setup for Ashton Genty too. So Riley taking Genty over 18.5 rushes, minus 102, with or without the Michael Myers narrative. We'll take the over on Ashton Genty there. Let's talk some touchdown props, Riley. When we look at those markets at FanDuel Sportsbook, any value you're seeing as things stand?
Yeah, I like Troy Franklin to score this week in the Broncos Jets. This just goes back to what I was talking about earlier with the whole positive regression piece. Over the last 3 weeks, he has a 40% red zone target share, and the Broncos are averaging 23 points per game during that span, and he still has not scored. Even looking at the whole season, Troy Franklin has a target share, red zone target share around 41%, which obviously leads the team. I mean, just getting that kind of work in the red zone, and we can get this at plus 250. And obviously they're playing a horrible defense. I mean, the Jets are giving up over 31 points per game. They're the 3rd worst adjusted pass defense. Ever since that, I don't know what week 1 was for Bo Nix. It felt like it was an anomaly, and so far it's looked like it. He's played a lot better since week 2. And then the Broncos are carrying a 26.5 team total in this as well. They're going to score a lot of points. I mean, I'd be really surprised if they didn't. And you're talking about a guy that's getting almost half of your red zone targets. I will take plus 250 happily.
And with Franklin, I have been in there on his touchdown prop each of the past 2 or 3 weeks, I think at this point. Hasn't paid off necessarily, but he's been getting that work. So it's I keep getting hopeful because I'll see okay, they're going his way in the red zone and he's pushed out at the 3, or they'll go his way in the red zone. I actually went to Cortland Sutton instead, but with this game, we've seen teams scheme up their wide receiver 2s against the Jets because they know that Sauce Gardner is going to see a lot of Cortland Sutton. Last week, Ryan Flournoy with the Cowboys had 9 targets because the Cowboys knew, hey, Pickens is going to get Sauce Gardner, and they kind of built their game plan around, okay, let's get the other guys involved. And for the Broncos, that could be, I think Evan Ingram's prop is pretty enticing too, personally, given the usage he had last week. He's plus 330, but also could be Franklin at plus 250, given the way teams have schemed against this Jets defense in 2025.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm getting a little cooked already on the whole writing up, hey, target this receiver against the Jets second corner, because it's just it's a go-to right now. It just is.
It very much is. And hopefully that does translate to Franklin this week. He is plus 250 to score at FanDuel Sportsbook. All right, Riley, let's open up the board now and talk about a same game parlay for this week. I'm going to give you one SGP across week number 6. Which game are you turning to, and which legs do you want involved with that parlay?
I am on the Patriots versus Saints. I am randomly really excited about this game. I think it'll be a fun one. But so our Brandon Gdula, he puts out his adjusted pace and pass report every week, and this has the quickest mark there. We got both of these run defenses that are ranking in the top half for adjusted units, and the opposite can be said about the pass defenses. We got, I believe New Orleans holds the 15th worst adjusted pass defense. Even with Christian Gonzalez back in the fold, we still have New England is the 9th worst, I believe. But I just think this is going to be a game that really just caters to throwing the ball a lot. So I just start by taking the over here, just because you're expecting a pretty quick pace. Quarterback's been playing well. I just wish like New Orleans could do remotely anything, because I think like Spencer Rattler has like actually been pretty fun, and he's overperforming compared to what I expected out of him before the year. That's for sure. And I mean, last week he had, I think it was 0.18 expected points added per dropback. Like that's good. Like that was his best game of the year. We know how good Drake May's been, and you're putting them against like some pretty suspect secondaries. I mean, I think there's going to be some points in this. So I mentioned Stephon Diggs earlier. I like him to score this week. Just again, he's had such just a huge workload. I mean, he's a 42.2% target share, a 54.2% air yard share over the last 2 weeks. And that's been paired with a 42.9% red zone target share during that 2-game span. Hasn't scored yet. I know it's a really small sample size, but like we said, it's dramatically changed for him over the last 2 weeks. And I do think like, if you're throwing him the ball that much and he's clearly a receiver one, he's going to consistently get red zone looks. And I think something else interesting too is New Orleans runs zone coverage at the 5th highest rate, and New England has played 2 high zone coverage teams the last 2 weeks, and that catered to Diggs putting up some big numbers. So I think that's another enticing individual matchup there. And then moving over to New Orleans passing attack, I like Rashid Shaheed to go over 46.5 receiving yards. And this is kind of like what we mentioned with the whole Jets thing, right? Like, I think this is going to be the situation with targeting the Patriots at this point is we know how good Christian Gonzalez is, but let's target Carlton Davis. I mean, he has a coverage grade around like 56. He hasn't been playing that well. Before Christian Gonzalez returned from injury, this pass defense was struggling really bad. Still don't really think it's any better than like mediocre probably. And then you look at other numbers like New England is allowing the 8th most yards per downfield target. You have Shaheed carrying a 34.5% downfield target share, along with a 13.2 yard average depth of target over the last three games. We know his whole game is like, let me just go get you a 70-yard touchdown. Like that's his thing. And you're playing a team that loves to run man coverage. And you look at Shaheed's receiving grades over at Pro Football Focus. He has an 86.2 grade against man coverage compared to a 60.4 grade versus zone coverage. So like he feasts on one-on-ones and just, getting big plays down the field. Again, like this is not a huge receiving line by any means. And, I expect them to throw the ball a lot. And between him and Olave, with how inefficient Olave's been against a great corner, I'd like to lean with Shaheed instead.
I love Rashid Shaheed because it feels like the big play is always a possibility. Like you could be in the 3rd quarter, he could have no receiving yards, and you're like, you're not writing that off as a loss just yet. Saw it again last week. Like even with the torn ACL, he can still burn you deep, and that is so fun to watch. And I agree with you. This game is very fun due to the pass funneling nature. Like you said, this game is indoors, which is good. Not super into either defense. And I think there are a lot of ways you could attack this game. Rise going with the over 45.5, Stephon Diggs to score, and Rashid Shaheed over 46.5 receiving yards. That is plus 517 at FanDuel Sportsbook. And I think this game is going to be a delight to watch. Maybe it won't be like a 60-point game, but we don't need 60 for this game to be fun. So I think it could be a delight to watch on Sunday.
Yeah, one of the most underrated games of the week for sure in my mind. Like I definitely would tune into this one. It should be fun.
It will be in my YouTube TV 4-box. I can almost guarantee you that. Partly because, again, DFS will need some Hunter Henry, but like other reasons too. Want to see if the Saints team can cover 3.5 because I could use that. So we're rooting for some Saints for sure on Sunday. All righty. That is all we have here for today on covering the spread. Big thank you once again to Riley Thomas for joining us, breaking down his thoughts on week 6. Riley, enjoy all the football this weekend, both college football and the NFL. We'll talk to you once again soon.
I appreciate you having me on. Best of luck with the Saints and Hunter Henry this week. I'll be rooting for you.
I guess if I lose the Saints plus 3.5, but it's because Hunter Henry scores 6 times, we'll be okay. We'll be okay. Preferably 6, not 5. If it's 5, I'll still be sad, but we'll take that either way. Find Riley on X at _Riley8. I am on X and Blue Sky at JimSannes, on Threads at Jim.Sannes, and you can find FanDuel Research on X at FanDuel Research. Big thank you to our YouTube producer, Justin Lane, for his work in the video side of things. Thank you, Justin, as always, and thank you to everyone for tuning in. Good luck to you with your bets across week 6 and, of course, college football week 7, too. We'll talk to you once again Monday to break down a Monday Night Football doubleheader. This has been Covering the Spread, a FanDuel Research podcast.